All right, hello and welcome to the Stock Operator channel. And today's episode, we have something special. I'm going to do a deep dive on a single stock. Um, I'll show you guys how to do the, full technical analysis in multiple time frames. So starting with the monthly, going to the weekly, and of course the daily. Do some fundamental analysis on it. I printed out a deep research thing from Perplexity that I'll just share with you guys so you can read it. Yeah, I'll just give you what I think and what I think going forward. And if that's something you're into, stick around. All right, so yeah, here it is. This is ticker symbol LEU, Centrus Energy. And what these guys do is they actually enrich uranium. So let's go to, I pulled up, I made a little research tab for from Perplexity, and let's just go to that and I'll share that with you guys. So I'm gonna just skim through this really quick, and if you guys really want to read it, you could read the whole thing. So basically, I just drew up a prompt that gave the bull and the bear case um, for this company, and I find that if I'm just kind of quickly trying to get some information on a company, I can just pull it up into deep research, and it does a pretty good job. Um, and I asked it to do, give me the intrinsic value, give me the bull case, give me the bear case, and tell me what you think of the company versus its competitors, um, and the total addressable market, that sort of thing. And it does a pretty good job. So, I'll just kind of highlight and read the points. But if you guys want to read this and stop the video, you guys can totally do that. But I mean, essentially, it's like this company is really reliant on government spending, which, I mean, my speculation is that Trump is trying to make things better with Russia. We still have sanctions on Russia, but we're trying to build out um, our energy infrastructure, and this is the only company that enriches uranium that's publicly traded. So, I'm just thinking that there's a bullish case for this. Um, yeah, so I mean, we all know that data centers are everywhere and they require a lot of energy, and we're moving towards nuclear. Um, and we're especially right here, we're doing these small modular reactors. Um, yeah, those are some other stocks we can actually talk about, but um, yeah, I mean, we're just going to need that energy, and yeah, I mean, LEU Centrus Energy is going to provide that product that all these guys need to run their modular reactors. So, I mean, basically, this report just goes in and it says, competitive pressures, American, um, uranium enrichment. I was the only one, and yeah, I mean, that there's a bullish case that it could go up a lot, like 120%. There's a bear case where it could go down 60%. It's pretty dependent on government funding. Supply chains. Yeah, it's dependent on Russian uranium supplies. So that's why I think if we have good relations with Russia, this thing could actually work. So here, let's check out this bull case intrinsic value. If the bull case materializes, 154 is what this thing is talking about. So, and I take these deep research price targets with a grain of salt. I always confirm them with my technical analysis, but it's just interesting to hear from a fundamental side, like how far they think the price can go. Um, just given some certain parameters here and then bear case, of course, like okay, what's the downside? Um, yeah, I mean it's got both, so it's a pretty explosive stock, but that's why we'll dig into the technicals and see what's going on. So yeah, it gives you some financial metrics and comparisons to the other companies like Cameco and stuff, but I don't know if you can even really compare it, um, which is why it's interesting. Some of these deep research, reports are pretty interesting. So I'll just keep going through this so that you guys can read it on your own. Um, yeah, industry growth comparison, so valuation. I mean, it says it's pretty decently valued at 14 times. Um, but yeah, it's comparing it to like coal India. I don't know if you can compare it to anything, but then it talks about some Wyckoff stuff. I mean, I wrote that in there, but I'll do that myself in the remaining of the video. Yeah, so then here's the conclusion. And so that's the report for you guys. So if you guys want to, slow down the video and read that all, I just went through that pretty fast, so you can check it out. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so whenever I'm like looking at a stock, I always start here, which is basically a monthly chart with earnings and sales, and shares outstanding and cash flow, and if I'm flipping through charts, I just like to look at this and just see where everything's at, because these are the most important metrics. Okay, like sales, earnings, gross margin, net profit, cash flow, shares outstanding, especially debt, and then dividend yield, with some dividend stocks. So I always like to look at that. Okay. The next thing I look at is a monthly chart, which is about 10 years. Okay, 10 years back. And then what I do is I put anchored VWAPs on every year. And it kind of gives you an interesting picture about the fair value, or where the market is perceiving fair value, uh, and where the support comes in. And this is a very kind of old stock, which is very interesting because it basically goes back to about 1998. It's been just in a massive drawdown because, I mean, I guess nuclear energy wasn't a thing. But it's very interesting where it's at today, where it's stuck between these anchored VWAPs from its IPO. It's crazy how far back some of these things actually can affect the price. So, it's coming in right here and stuck. If it gets above this anchored view up, I think it can really do well. Um, but it seems to always find support at the lower anchored VWAP. And just the look of this anchored VWAP means it's an active stock. Like, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of changing of hands, um, and there's a lot of interest because the anchored VWAPs keep moving higher, and there's more volume coming into this thing. And another thing I've noticed is, like, when this amount of volume comes in, it's held over here. It hasn't crashed. So people have conviction on the stock. And then we just had a test right here, and it's going back up, just like right over here. So that's the monthly. I always start with that because it's really important. Okay, so now here I'm getting into the weekly chart. And if we get into the weekly chart, we can kind of draw some lines here. Just normal kind of support and resistance stuff. But actually what I wanted to show you is something I've been getting kind of into recently. Is I try to find areas where the smartest people in the room bought or sold. Now, what do I mean by the smartest people in the room? Um, Basically, I'm trying to find the wicks that were the pivot points before a big move. So, for instance, right here, this wick, okay, if we draw a wick right here, the guys who are buying this wick right here, because essentially to create this wick, the candle had to come all the way down. So anybody who had the gumption to buy that wick was the smartest guy in the room. So I always like to put an area where the smartest guys are, because they bought into that weakness and it produced a big rally. So just something I thought I'd share because I'm going to start doing that in a lot of videos. So right here, if we look, we had a little bounce, and then right here, it looks like there's some guys who are the smartest guys in the room trading right there. And if I put this here and we go to a green, so it looks like the smartest guys in the room on the downside were right here. So a lot of sellers there, and they've protected it many times. And now look, this is the first time that this stock has tested where the smartest guys are, and they didn't push it down. So that to me is fairly interesting, and it's fairly strong. Like, the bounce off of that area is fairly strong, and we're coming back into this area now. It could fail here, but if it continues higher, I mean, this thing can go straight back up to 120. So that's the weekly analysis. That's basically all I see in this chart, on the weekly side. So let's go into the daily. Right. Okay, so here's the daily action, with those same moving averages that I always use. I like to use the yearly moving average, and I like to use the quarterly moving average. So now what we can do is we can just do some comparisons, comparing relative strength, and then also relative strength to the market, But then also you can kind of do some wave analysis and see, if this wave is stronger than the previous wave, or if this down wave is weaker than the previous down wave. Okay, and that's kind of what we do when we do a top-down kind of technical analysis of a stock. So, I mean, first thing I notice when I'm looking at the stock is, yeah, it's below the yearly moving average, which is not ideal, but there wasn't that much volume pushing it down. So the quarterly moving average still has momentum. It still can move to the upside. And if we get above this area right here, if I start drawing some of these smartest guy in the room areas, um, we're right here at an area. Okay, so it's a very pivotal spot, because if this thing can get above this area right here, I mean it's where's the next spot where these guys are, the smartest guys are? It's right here, this little wick. Okay, so right here, and that's basically the range. And what we call it in Wyckoff is this is a little spring, okay, where it ducks below, gets all these people stopped out, gets these guys stopped out from this bullish candle right here. And if it moves up and onwards, we've kind of cleared out most of the weak hands. And depending on how it moves through this level, we can then assume that it's going to go to the next level, which is up here. Okay. Uh, yeah, back here, I think this was a share offering. So they've already done the offerings. It's out of the way. Right here, this is getting into the share offering. This is another thing that I like to, it's very interesting to notice, is that whenever you're going into a very strong candle like this, you want to see how much supply is coming in. Okay, and the fact that this was able to overcome such a strong offering and get to a higher price tells me that this range is actually bullish. Okay, even though we're down here, but the fact that people were able to push the price back above this area tells you that the market is actually pretty bullish on this stock. And if it can get, back into range, we could see it double. Yeah, I mean, look, this is a pretty nasty kind of drawdown. Basically, what it tells me, because it's on low volume, is that the guys who are buying just kind of left, and this is just weak hands getting out. Because I mean, it went down a lot, but it didn't go down like aggressively, like over here. Like this was aggressive selling from insiders and the company with an offering, and this was very aggressive selling. Not so aggressive selling. Not so aggressive. Not This is more aggressive selling here. But then this was not too aggressive. It kind of just floated down, which tells me that it's getting a little bit stronger compared to the left side. Now, even though it went down further, it still shows you that, okay, there's not like people who really want to take this thing down. They're kind of just waiting, allowing it to come in so that they can then buy it again. And this is the idea. This is the area you want to get interested in this thing. Okay, so I mean that, like, without getting too much into the details, I mean that's kind of my analysis. Like, if this stock can get, like, let's say above $69, $70 with a strong candle, some kind of candle that kind of looks like this, something like that, um, then that would, say, okay, we're going back up to the highs. Um, some kind of a candle like that looked like this, that kind of signals that you're gonna go back to the highs. Um, yeah, I mean, but if we turn around here, then the idea is not looking so good. I mean, we could actually come down, make a higher low, and then go for it. That would be also another scenario. But essentially, this is the line in the sand that it should not go back any lower below that. And even if you looked at the fundamental analysis, this stock could go lower. Okay, so that's kind of my analysis of this stock. I mean, it looks like it's ready it's ready to go. I mean, oh wait, let me just do one more weekly view so you guys can see smartest guys in the room on this side. Yeah, right there. Okay. So here we go. Yeah, and then we'll go back to the daily chart. Yeah, so and it tested that area. So if we had a strong candle, I'd be pretty bullish on this thing. Yeah. So I mean that's basically it. Hey, if you guys like the content, feel free to comment and like and subscribe. And yeah, I think we just hit 60 subscribers. That's pretty cool. Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you on the next video. Cheers.